What's Your Poison? Alright folks, welcome back to What's Your Poison? I'm Moxie, and this week we're going to be discussing something universal. It spans the entirety of humanity, the animal kingdom, and it can be argued that even plants experience this. It's fear. Everyone feels it, and if anyone claims not to, they're liars. I'll be using fear and phobia interchangeably, but what you should know is that while a fear is uncomfortable, a phobia can be disabling. Speaking of uncomfortable, I'm drinking Fireball today. No, I'm just kidding. It's not bad. It's spicy, sweet, and terrifying if you're old like me, so it's appropriate for the episode. Fingers crossed that I don't want to kill myself in the morning. I do have work, but I have pickle juice at the ready for the forthcoming hangover. If you're not familiar with Fireball, where the hell have you been for the last 35 years? There's no excuse. Here's some facts. It was released in Canada in 1984, which I did not know. It was actually designed to warm you during the extreme Canadian winters and was originally called Dr. McGillicuddy's Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. It wasn't released in the States till 2001, but it's been growing in popularity ever since. A guy I'm dating loves it. I always make sure I have some on hand for when he comes over. In 2014, Finland, Sweden, and Norway pulled it from the shelves due to concerns over how much propylene glycol, aka antifreeze, if you watch a lot of Forensic Files like I do, the liquor contained. The laws are much stricter overseas. In the U.S., they don't give a shit what you drink, so we can drink it here, but it was pulled from the shelves because they were worried that they would get sick. It's fine to drink in moderation, honestly, because Americans are so well known for their restraint. America. It's 33% alcohol, makes it similar strength to flavored vodka, and there are actually only like 108 calories in a normal shot, which is not far off from straight liquor, so I thought it would be hella sugary, but apparently not, so woohoo. Slightly less taxing on the liver. I'm actually drinking it on ice for the time being. I usually shoot it, especially when the guy I'm dating is over. We shoot it. Sometimes I shoot it and other things, and he endlessly makes fun of me for that, but I can mix and not hate myself in the morning. Whereas, in contrast, I will probably hate myself in the morning for drinking just Fireball. So there you go. Alrighty. A lot of times people mix it. The most popular one's probably the Cinnamon Toast Crunch shot, and it's Fireball and rum chata, which is an alcoholic version of horchata, which is a Mexican drink made of rice, milk, vanilla, and cinnamon. It's actually pretty tasty, but again, I'm old, so that sounds like fear. Alright, on to the actual scary stuff. So, in general, fear is traced to an overarching fear of death. Whatever we fear is because we're worried that it's going to take us out or take out someone we love. And we don't know what happens after death. So the fear of unknown is really what we're fearing. It's pretty well known that people fear the unknown, and it usually manifests itself in anger and prejudice. Just look at the current state of the world. Specific fears are widespread across geography and demographics. There is the DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, the 5th edition. It's basically what the American Psychiatric Association uses to diagnose mental disorders, and they divide fears into categories. So there's agoraphobia or agoraphobia, and it's the fear of situations or places that trigger fear or helplessness. It's commonly characterized as a person afraid to leave their home. If you've seen Shameless, then you know that Joan Cusack is fantastic as Sheila. And she can't leave her house. It's actually a very cute story arc. It's infuriating at times, and I hate her daughter, but that's fine. Okay, so category 2, social phobias, are pretty self-explanatory, and they're fears having to do with social situations. So, pretty much people today, since they don't really have to interact with people face-to-face, a lot of people have social phobias. Often manifest in the inability to speak in public, or really just not wanting to leave your house. Not the fear of leaving your home specifically for fear of getting hurt, but the fear that someone's going to embarrass or humiliate you. Alright, so things start to get a little bit more interesting when we delve into specific phobias. The DSM divides specific phobias, so this category is divided into 5 further categories. The animal type, for example, spiders, insects, or dogs. The natural environment type, heights, storms, or water. The blood injection injury type, needles, invasive medical procedures. The situational type, airplanes, elevators, and enclosed places. And the other type, which includes choking, vomiting, contracting illnesses, loud sounds, and costume characters. See, guys, my mascot fear is reasonable. Anything not listed is usually just named by doctors or researchers. So they'll take the Greek or Latin prefix, and then just slap phobia on the end, which is the suffix meaning fear. So, like, arachnophobia. Arachna, obviously the prefix for spiders, or arachnids rather, and phobia meaning fear, so fear of arachnids. Pretty self-explanatory. So if there's not a specific fear already outlined, then they'll just create one that's usually pretty easy to figure out. Alright, now let's figure out how common these are. I'm sure you're going to hear something that you recognize in yourself. You're welcome to turn this into a drinking game like the last episode. You might end up on the floor. We're pretty anxious people nowadays. But if you feel like it, knock yourself out. Maybe literally. So if you're more of an anxious type, I'd recommend maybe taking a sip if you recognize yourself in one of these. Or take a full shot if you think you're good to go, but you might surprise yourself. So let's start with the broad categories. So 9% of Americans have agoraphobia or agoraphobia. Over 40% have a severe case, but fewer than half are getting treatment. It usually comes on at age 20, and only 2.4% of those affected are teenagers. As far as social phobias, 7.1% of Americans have social phobias, and that's adults. So it's called social anxiety disorder now, and it stems from a fear of the unknown, like most of them, but it's specifically the fear of unknown people or situations in which you may be embarrassed or humiliated. So that's why public speaking is such a huge thing, because you're very vulnerable and, all eyes are on you. Usually appears in adolescence around 13, but that's usually when we start getting into, debate and, choir and anything where you may be solo on stage. 15 million American adults, that's where the 7.1% comes in, and 5.5% of American teenagers are affected. 30% have a severe case, but only 40% are receiving treatment, and more than a third of those wait 10 or more years to get treatment. So there's no shame in this. Everyone has, I'm not going to say everyone, a lot of people have social anxiety. So don't wait 10 years to get treated. Your life can be a whole hell of a lot easier now. Slightly more women than men suffer from social anxiety, and I feel like it's mentioned a lot, and I feel like it's used to, explain away a lot of things, but honestly, I think it's because of the high standards we place on women today. So, yes, I know men have high standards placed on them as well, but it's a lot less on their physical appearance, and that's usually, what you're judged on in public. Alright, so 10% of the U.S. population are said to have a specific phobia. This is where it gets fun. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, or the NIMH, these are the most common. So go ahead and take a sip or a shot if you hear yourself, if you want to play the game. Again, if you are an anxious person, maybe sit this one out, because we got a long way to go. Closed-in places, heights, escalators, tunnels, highway driving, water, flying, dogs, animals, insects, thunder, public transportation, injuries involving blood, and dental and medical procedures. So I really didn't expect these to be the most common, especially escalators. Like, I get the fear of escalators, but for it to be the third most common, I was not expecting that. They most often appear around the age of 7. And that makes sense, actually, because you're getting a little bit more independence and you're not quite so sheltered from your parents. So you're going to start experiencing a few more things by yourself, and you might be expected to deal with situations yourself that maybe, your parents or guardians would have handled for you before. More than 19 million, or 9.1% of American adults, and 15.1% of teenagers have at least one specific phobia, and most people have more than one. I know I do. We'll get into that later. More than twice as many women than men have specific phobias. I don't have an uneducated guess for this one. And you're probably relieved. Draw your own conclusions. Now, I did find this really cool survey. So, in 2018, Chapman University conducted a study about fear. Their survey of American fears compiled answers from nearly 1,200 randomly chosen adults from across the country regarding 95 different fears. And yes, I'm going to list them all. We're going to break it up. And, again, drink if you see fit. I am not responsible for anything your dumbass does when you're drunk. Buckle up, folks. These are the top 48 most common fears, and I'll let you know when I'm taking a shot myself, because Lord knows I'm an anxious mess. Thank God for Zoloft, am I right? Here we go. Number 1, corrupt government officials, 73.6%. Pollution of oceans, rivers, and lakes, 61.6%. Pollution of drinking water, 60.7%. Not having enough money for the future, 57%. I'm going to go ahead and drink. I think we're all afraid of this one. All right. Oh, geez. I'm going to do some rapid fire shots here. Number 5, people I love becoming seriously ill, 56.5%. Most of my anxiety stems from a medical place. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of drinking for those. Here I go. Number 6, people I love dying, 56.4%. Been to a lot of funerals in my day. Not sure if I am more upset about the people I love dying or the Catholic funerals that go on forever. All right, number 7, air pollution, 55.1%. Number 8, extinction of plant and animal species, 54.1%. 9, global warming and climate change, 53.2%. And I'm drinking. And it's even scarier when our elected officials, quote unquote, get into that later, don't believe it's a thing. I don't know about you, but that's, I think, the most terrifying part. 10, high medical bills, 52.9. It's not as scary since I don't pay them. 11, cyber terrorism, 52.5%. 12, fear that the U.S. will be involved in another world war, 51.6%. Drink up. Ooh, I'm going to be trashed. 13, Islamic extremists, 49.3%. 14, white supremacists, 49.3%. I'm not afraid of them. I think they're stupid. 15, economic or financial collapse, 49.2%. Not afraid. I have no money to lose. 16, identity theft, 46.6%. Again, no money to lose. Plus, I applied for Target when I was like 17 or 18, and my social security number pulled up some random dude named Robert, so pretty sure I've already dealt with that. Number 8. Wait, I'm lying. That's way far away. Where am I here? Okay, 17. Corporate tracking of personal data, 46.3%. Again, I don't care. If you find it interesting, fantastic. 18. Government tracking of personal data, 46%. They can't keep track of their own shit. 19. Being hit by a drunk driver, 45.3%. It would suck. It's not something I walk around fearing. 20. Biological warfare, 44.7%. 21. Becoming seriously ill, 44.1%. Gonna go ahead and drink up. Had a couple breakdowns last year about this one. Again, thank God for Zoloft. 22. Oil spills, 44%. 23. Terrorist attack, 43.8%. I'm taking a drink. 24. Widespread civil unrest, 43%. We're already there. That's